Thank you so much for being here and for getting up at the crack of dawn to talk to us in what is my lunch hour, but you're barely even breakfast hour, to talk about how Hawaii schools, public and private, are partnering together and the impact and the outcomes that you all are seeing from your extensive collaborations. So I'll leave the introductions up to you. But anyway, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your work. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much for that. Let's see if I can get our slides up on screen. There we go.
There you go.
Perfect. So as we see here in Hawaii, aloha Kakou.
Aloha.
My name is Keiki, and I'm a regional director for Kamehameha schools here in Hawaii. And the area, the community that I get to serve is the Waianae Coast on the island of Oahu, and I'm here with my colleague.
Hi, I'm Ann Mahi. I'm the Complex Area Superintendent for the Department of Education for this area that we call the Waianae Nanakuli Complex Area. And we've been working together over the last 8 years or so as partners in looking at our community and starting to think about the kind of needs and possible ideas and changes that in partnership we could really start to implement together. So I'm going to turn it over to back to Kalei as we start off on this journey that we've had over the last 8 years.
Yeah, just before we go to the next slide, just to set up the public-private partnership and who does what. So Anne is a complex area superintendent for our public education system. And then her area, or complex area as we call it, is Waianae Coast Region. I'm regional director for the Waianae Coast Region. And I work for Kamehameha Schools, which is both a private school system and an educational trust here in Hawaii. And so between Anne and I, it's a kind of a small partnership. It's just Anne and I and our different organizations. And I feel like our charge has been to bring more people to the table. So more folks from the private sector, more folks from the public sector to do some of the work that we've been able to do together. So I'm going to start here with a picture of these beautiful children. If you see their shirts, they're from different organizations, different early learning organizations. And sometimes it feels like we have to ask ourselves this question when we're picking who gets what program, which Keiki, which child does not deserve a chance. So when I'm in the boardroom thinking about scholarships, there's a part of me that recognizes that this is sometimes a question that I'm answering without really wanting to answer this question. In talking with Anne and moving our work forward, she and I came together based on this one belief that we're done choosing. Every single child deserves every opportunity to live up to their full potential and enter adulthood able to live, work, and play in their home community. Every single child, regardless of age, regardless of ability, all our children deserve that opportunity. For both our organizations, that was real clarifying. As a private trust, I'm really used to targeting audiences, and I've got my mission and mission-related investments and things like that, and that's important. And if I want to be a good partner, I have to be willing to let go of part of my agenda and take up a common agenda. And found a really great, trustworthy relationship in our public education system with Anne Mahi. So just some context in our community. Anne said we've been working together for about 8 years. We count our baseline year as 2010. That was a really hard year in our community. I'll just share some statistics with you. Out of 100 ninth graders, only 50 were making it to graduation on time. 19 would go on to enroll in college. Only 9 would go back for a second year in college, and only 4% of our kids were graduating from college. A little bit about the socioeconomic indicators for the Waianae Coast, again, for context. So this is the island of Oahu, one of 8 major islands in the archipelago of Hawaii. Waianae Coast is on the leeward side, the dark shaded area, where the highest concentration of Native Hawaiians call their home. Aside from Washington, D.C., Hawaii is home to the highest per capita homeless population in the nation. I don't know if you guys knew that. And if that is true for our state, the highest concentration of homelessness in our state is on the Waianae Coast. Population by age is that little donut chart. And then the population living in poverty is that little bar chart on the right.
Hey, if I can add too, if we look at just our school system, we have 100% free and reduced lunch. That's because the majority of our families live in poverty. So they're at 62% of our families are living in poverty. So that is another thing that we add on when we talk about how do we start to create a partnership that can service the needs of all of these students.
Just some data points comparing Nanakuli-Waianae to the rest of the state of Hawaii. A relatively small complex area. We have some big challenges, like I said. Like 80% of our kids live in poverty, 50% did not attend preschool, 30 to 40% are chronically absent. So this is just all to say that our community wasn't thriving. We were surviving. We have the highest rates of homelessness in the state. 4% have a college degree. Some of these changes are reflected in education, of course, but we have this saying, when tummies are empty and hearts are broken, learning is really hard. Health outcomes are junk. And this was really perplexing. One of the first things Ann and I did when we got together is we got the financial reports, the annual financial reports from the top 5 nonprofit organizations in our community. And I call it social worker math. If I give you math and statistics, you should always double check it. I do a lot of rounding. I'm so sorry. But so we did some social worker math on the financial reports and came up with this rough figure. Every year, over $180 million, every year, $180 million was spent on education programs and social services in our little community. For what? We asked ourselves, what is it doing? What is it changing?
Right. And we could see that people were coming in with their money saying, okay, we got this money, we got this grant, but we want you to do this for us. So it was really different. It wasn't where it was what was needs-based, it was what was community and our statistics and people wanting to give money because they wanted to try something or they wanted to meet the requirements of a grant that they wrote for. And all of that became kind of a realization for Kalei and I when we said, hey, we really need to turn this around. We need to flip this around. So we started really looking at what our needs are in our community and how do we get the resources to support those needs and not our community trying to support the needs of others.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I would tell this story, 2 versions of the same story. So let's say there's a tree growing in a school parking lot and it has to come down because the roots are lifting the parking lot and the playground and it's horrible and the plumbing. So the first version of the story, the principal says, hey, community, I need help with something. Come help me fell this tree. And on the specified day, the community comes, organizations come, and we've got a lot of resources, don't we? We've got chainsaws, we've got hatchets. One guy even shows up with a steak knife. And on the count of 3, everybody has at it and they start hacking away at the tree. You can imagine how this version of the story ends, right? The guy with the hatchet got too excited with the branches. It fell on the head of the guy with the chainsaw. I still to this day don't know what the guy with the steak knife was doing. It was chaos. In the other version of the story, it's the same tree, the same parking lot, the same principal, except this principal had an opportunity to go talk with someone about what are the logistics and implications of felling a tree, and they came up with a plan. And so on the same specified day, the same people showed up with the same tools, but everybody who showed up knew exactly what their role was. So first came the guys with the hatchets that cut down the branches. And then the guy with the chainsaws came to cut down the trunk. And the guy with the steak knife, he was instructed to stay away from the tree and go do some work at the snack table. And so in much the same way, Anne, through her leadership and the school principals and all of the people under her, one of the first things that I saw her do was get them together and start creating a shared set of aspirations and beliefs for kids. And so I'll turn the floor over to Anne to talk about what that process was and what the beliefs they came up with. But this simple act of asking principals, asking the people around you, what are your hopes and dreams for families and children, ended up being very instrumental in our work moving forward.
So I actually pulled all the principals together and said, we're going to stay in this room until we can start to define our purpose. You know, why are we here? And why are we here in the Nanakuli-Waianae Complex Area? And why do we stay here? And they were able to, it was a very emotionally charged time because, you know, no one really asked that question. They just kind of, in education, you kind of say, okay, what is it that's our goal? And let's just meet our goal. But to actually start to share our beliefs was a very challenging opportunity. So these are the things that we came up with. We have 5 of them. And the first one is believing in creating possibilities that could really help children and their passion. Second one was we had to believe that every child wants to be successful and that in order for them to be successful, we had to provide hope for them. And every step in a positive direction creates more hope. That we needed to believe in our students and that they deserve these opportunities to become empowered so they can make changes in the world. They can help their community become a thriving community. And that will make a difference in every child's life. And so it wasn't about some children receiving things or some children getting GT opportunities or some children being in a program. It really is about how we're going to make sure that all children are going to have that opportunity and that we can make a difference if we do these things and we bring our resources in the community together. And that's going to change our community. We're going to break the cycle of poverty. We're going to disrupt that school to prison pipeline because when you look at our prison population, a lot of them are Native Hawaiian and a lot of them come from our Moku area, our Waianae Moku or our Waianae area. And the last one was that we had to believe that we could do this, that we could be the change agents, that we were committed to making sure that these things were going to occur in our schools and we're going to do them together and we were going to look outward. We're going to turn outward to our community organizations, to anybody who cared about what needs to happen for children, and we're going to help them come together to create opportunities that are going to have a shared belief about what the potential of all of our children are. So this is what we came up with. And over the 5 years, this was in 2014, we had the race. When I first came over, I came over because I needed to take care of the race. And I did that for 2 years and learned a lot about what we shouldn't do. Mm-hmm. And then in 2014 said, okay, we need to come together because we have an opportunity now to start making big changes here. And back, I think it was last year, we started thinking about where we were and where we've come to. And we created a video that we'd like to share with you. And it's on our website. It's
the Nanakuli-Waianae principals are committed to developing students into resilient and ambitious citizens of our community. And to promote their mission, they have developed the belief statements about education for our children, families, and community.
When we developed the statements, it took us from the level of being colleagues to being true collaborators around these shared values and beliefs that we have.
We believe in creating possibilities, maximizing potential, and finding the passion in all to achieve.
My dad, they all growing up over here. I want to be a football player and stuff. So yeah, I like this place because everybody is nice and they make me become smart.
Building relationship with kids. I think from there you get to know the kid, then you can work with them. and helping them be successful, feel good about themselves. But it's all about building a relationship.
We believe that every child wants to be successful, and that hope is based upon success. Small successes building into larger ones.
Our main goal is to provide them hope that, you know, what they're learning is going to provide them a better future.
When writing, teacher always give us encouraging words like to never give up and try our best.
We believe our students deserve educational opportunities that empower them to be citizens of the world.
We have science, but we don't do as much as I would like to do. We do like STEM daily.
Being introduced to different opportunities in high school, like PALS program, student council, has really pushed me to become a greater student and a better leader.
By exposing them to literature, by exposing them to culture, by exposing them to this beautiful place, that gives our kids a sense of confidence that they'll be able to stand on and rely on as they start to navigate through their educational journey on their way to becoming our leaders.
We believe that we will make a difference in every child's life and therefore impact our entire community.
Being in that situation had made me realize that we weren't just helping with homeless, but we were helping ourselves.
But that they can better our community here in Hawaii and perpetuate our kuleana and our responsibilities as Hawaiian people and people of this land.
We've been putting a large emphasis on identifying their social-emotional needs and how to address that, both seeking out supports if they need it, as well as addressing it themselves. So some of the ways we've been doing that is we've implemented a transitional class for all of our 7th graders that focuses on social-emotional learning.
We believe that together we can create the change to ensure that all of our children realize their dreams for the future.
We believe Waianae students will be tomorrow's local and global leaders. If we want local and global leaders, we've got to pay special attention to what's happening for our young people in their first 5 years of life. And that was really the start of our investment in preschools here on the Waianae Coast.
Work hard, learn how to do math, because you have to be really good. I'm just hoping that I can be a real firefighter one day.
My personal hopes and dreams are to go to college and find a career that I love to do, which would be creative media.
So when we have a classroom setting, some of the things that we're ensuring that our students are being exposed to, and some of the things that we're ensuring our students are very skilled at, are envisioning a solution to a problem and pursuing it.
With our help, students will be equipped with the knowledge, skills, and disposition to actively contribute to their community.
This is our ahupua'a, and ahupua'as are divided into different areas. And so as an elementary school, we here at the base of the valley, we are important in building the foundational learning skills. And then as you go up into the valley, we come to the intermediate and high school. And I think I always see high school as finding their uniqueness and being okay with it, and then taking that desires and dreams and helping them up to the top of the valley. So upon graduation, they can seek their future, have choices about their future, and resonate with their soul. It is a life-sustaining and a very, very aspirational dream for us of helping the children with their learning opportunities and fulfilling their life dreams.
We have this posted on our website, and wait, hold on. Oh, the very end is actually the message, but that's okay.
Oh,
okay. It just continues to say that, you know, the children, we have to perpetuate these values and beliefs about our mission in our region. And we want to be sure that we are always reminding people as we set out on different kind of initiatives that it connects to these beliefs, because we have to create, not only as we understand our community better, we need to be able to create public will, that willingness to come together to implement things for the children because we know why it's important. And I think that's one of the things that Kalea and I did when we started to come together to really look at, you know, what kind of community do we have and how do we know who our community members are, what their beliefs and what their hopes and dreams are. So we started thinking about shoulder to shoulder, how are we going to make this happen?
So if we so we started with shared beliefs and aspirations. You know, those kinds of exercises, those kinds of messages can really bring a group of grown-ups together. And then also legitimized this call to action that we started sharing with our broader community. And so, you know, I felt very confident often in talking with folks because the principal said, they said they wanted to do this. So we would go from shared beliefs and worked our way eventually to a set of shared goals. And that's what you see on the screen there. We wanted to mark time for ourselves in 5-year tranches. And so here we are in our first 5-year tranche where we're increasing coordination and collective action among health, education, and community development sectors. There are a series of so that statements. And so as we're on the cusp of 2020, we're going to be turning our sights to eliminating opportunity gaps for our kids, leveraging the coordination that we have achieved and continue to work towards refining with community members so that our community can thrive.
So one of the things when you think about the things that we've tried to coordinate and create some changes around included working with our legislators. Mm-hmm. So we've been able to create school-based health centers in Hawaii. I think we're one of the few that have a school-based health center clinic in partnership with our regional federally qualified health centers. And they're run by APRNs, advanced nurse practitioners. So we're creating that within our schools because we said that was really important. So we did that in partnership. We also started looking at an alternative learning center for our students who are very alienated. And so we lobbied together to get funding to actually start that. And in partnership with Kamehameha Schools, we were able to get almost $1 million to actually initiate that first program that we have. And we're looking at now moving it into what we call an academy and later into a school. So the North Star dream that we have is always there because it shouldn't matter whether it's Kalea and I that sit in these seats, but it's whoever comes into our seats will still have that map to follow in terms of our community.
Yep. And so just a little bit about how our alliance, I feel like that's so official.
Alliance. Our alliance works.
How our alliance works.
Like Star Wars.
Totally like Star Wars.
Okay.
So we established priorities with DOE principals and leaders. That was important. Again, so it's not my agenda, it's not Anne's agenda, it's the shared agenda. We were able to derive a sense of confidence from that by anchoring to the principals what they were hoping for, but also what they were worried about. We used these priorities to start to create real partnerships and started to allude to some of the partnerships that led to some school-based health centers and an academy for some of our young people.
Academic transitions like Kilohana.
Yep, summer programs and things like that. So we started to create partnerships based on these priorities. And that put us in a position where we could really not just do a broad general call out to community members for help, but we could be really specific about the kind of help that we needed. We could be really specific about the kinds of resources we were looking for. And it also made, you know, at the end of the day, saying yes or no to things for the principals a little bit easier. Because again, when you live in a community like ours, one of the easiest things to do is to write a grant to do something good in our community. And I always say there's 500 million good things to do in our community, but really there's probably only 5 that are both good and right. And so anchoring to these priorities, creating a process for developing partnerships helped us be specific about what our needs were, and all of that added up to making it happen for our Keiki.
Yeah, and one of the things that that helps in the partnership is because sometimes we get caught in our own organizational boundaries. And by working with each other, we kind of break through and say, why not?
Yeah.
You know, let's think about it differently. And, oh, you can't do it, but I can. And so in that way, the partnership starts to work. And one of the nicest ones that we've been able to establish over many years is the one that we call our Kilohana program, which is actually a summer transition. And what has happened now is we've got a lot of other organizations who are doing competing kind of programs all together, so that it isn't a choice whether parents have to go to this one or that one. We've been able to pull it all together so that everyone benefits, and so do all the children. So instead of a 3-week program here, a 2-week program here, we actually have a good 5-week program.
Yeah, one.
So
yeah, what Anna's talking about is summer programming. Again, right? It's easy to write grants for summer programs here in our community. So one summer at our intermediate school, there were 3 or 4 different summer programs, all competing for the cafeteria, all competing for the field. Pickup was disastrous and confusing. The principal only stood for that. Tolerated that for 1 summer. He hauled us all into his office and he said, whatever happened to our aspirations, whatever happened to our priorities. And we were able to, across program lines, create and curate a single experience for young people. And we worked out everything from the simple, fun things like t-shirts all the way down to legal liability for young people on the school campus. This is just a snapshot of some of the partners involved in our alliance. Some of my favorites are Popeye's Chicken. What we would say to folks is, I really don't care what organization you work for. Really what I'm after is your brain and your thought partnership. And there was a great manager of Popeye's Chicken who was willing to just come with it at our meetings and help us work through some real tricky spots.
And sometimes what we've done is we've got this great idea for like a college dual enrollment credit program. And we convene all these partners and we put our budget sheet up on the wall. And we said, here's what it's going to take for us to put this program together. It's only $300,000 for the summer program, but we're going to need your help. So as we explain the program, could you go up there and put your name next to the amount that you want to help us with?
And the category.
And the category that you're going to help us with, whether it's funding of the teachers or helping with the field trips and the buses, or helping us, we do the teachers and things like that. But it was amazing that we got it done in 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes with all of our private, our funders and people that are partners, we got the $300,000 to move forward. And we've been doing this program for 4 years now. And it's the same way. We all come together and they say, where's the budget sheet? And then we move forward. But it's that kind of relationship that we've been able to create because of the things that we believe in together. So this is how we're achieving.
I feel like this is a good way. So we shared beliefs, we got priorities, we were real specific about our asks of partners and resources, started to change the way we talk. So I used to come to Anne and talk about my target population. Now we're talking about every Keiki, all children and their families. We used to have program by grant, and now we have programs based on goals. There was a time where we thought, resources are scarce, we're competing for the same resources. What would happen if instead now we thought, well, let's just assume that we have what we need. It's just a matter of finding what we need and aligning it. And then we go from silos to sectors. I love the resource that Anne talked about, health centers on our school campuses. So before, families used to keep their kids home when they were sick. Now if a Keiki wakes up and says, I'm not feeling well, mom says, well, guess what? Go to school, because the doctor's there. So we went from silos and sectors to posses and collectives. That's important, posses and collectives, because I'll just to say this, when we're doing community work across all of these different organizations, we all have our day jobs. And very few of us can have a job where it is to partner. Unlike Ann and I, that's why it's Ann and I. I think our jobs are to partner. That's part of our job descriptions. But the guy from Popeyes, that is not his job description at all. And so posses and collectives are important because we have to kind of find a good balance of having credible, reliable partners, but not overburdening them with new work. Really, we had to hold tight to the principle that we have what we need and you're perfect as you are. Let's just get you assigned to the right job. So, you know, the guy from Popeyes, you know, if he was on shift or he had to cover, you know, making that guy in charge of student transportation probably wasn't the best idea. But asking him to come to a quick nighttime thought partner meeting is perfect.
And bring chicken.
Bring chicken.
Yeah, so we really changed. If you saw in the video, Kalei was wearing the shirt that says Mission Possible. So we really saw so many impossibilities in the very beginning. Wow, we don't know how we could do that. But really now we're really saying it's possible.
Yep.
I'm possible for the children.
I love it. Things started to change. Let's see, all 9 of our public schools out here in the complex area took a stand together to make change happen. Kamehameha schools, with the support of our community partners, we were able to open a 10-acre facility that provided 245 brand new preschool seats in this community. It's public land. The construction was a private construction project. And there are about 8 different early learning partners on this campus that are all financing the operations of the classrooms themselves through their existing program.
And we bring them,
feat.
And Kalei brings us all together as part of a consortium. So we can start looking at the goal of all of this is to actually ensure that all of the children on the coast are kindergarten ready. So we're very clear about our mission together now. It's not just about babysitting or taking care of children and having them have new experiences, but it actually is with a purpose of preparing them for kindergarten as a community, yeah, and as private and public partners in this.
Yep.
Yeah. 5 more minutes. Okay, let's go.
We opened the 3 school-based health centers in partnership with the Federally Qualified Health Center. We joined together, and you had to go to that meeting, with our faith-based community. The churches, the pastors in our community knocked on Ann's door and said they wanted to help. Specifically, they wanted to help with behavioral and mental health issues. And so Ann said, let's get together and talk, and we'll get you plugged into where
I went to a meeting where there were 80 pastors and their wives there. And with my team, DOE team, we actually did a sharing of how trauma affects children and learning. And after that, they all said, we're going to lock shields and we're going to work together. And our job is not to come into the DOE. Our job is to turn outward to the community and start to share with our community the kind of things that we need to change in order to help our children become better learners in the schools.
That was super cool. So Ann and her team at that time were focusing on learning about trauma-informed schools. And so this pastor, this faith-based community, they locked shields and they started facilitating and hosting conversations in their congregations.
He's doing national presentations now. He's better than us. We set up a Google site where he gets resources, new PowerPoints that we put up there for him and others in the faith-based community. And we put up discussion questions and handouts, and they can access a video called Resilience in the public libraries, and they hold their own community in the garage, in the homes, weekend conversations about this. It has helped us tremendously. Do you see the difference in our data?
Yeah, let's get to the data.
Yeah.
Schools health centers, there's the Kilohana program that Ann talked about, a STEM program for summer.
Oh yeah, and Kamehameha Schools also helps us with our college camp up at the university, and it's a residential 1-week opportunity for our students to really learn about what it takes to go to college. And this is our summer early college program where they get dual credits. And they also, many of these students are scholar athletes who could not take early college during the regular school year. And here's our public pre-K program.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, look at that. It's so how are things getting better for our children because of this? That's the important part.
That's the thing.
Okay. This impressed Calais.
It did impress
Okay, turn
me.
it. Go ahead. Let's impress them. Okay. So chronic absenteeism has been a challenge for us in a high poverty community. And so the way this is set up is on the right-hand column, that is our last year's chronic absenteeism. And the way they identify them are students that have more than 15 absences during the year. And so that's our percentage of our 8,000 students, right? So this is at semester this year. And we're starting to see a tremendous drop in terms of the percentage of chronic absentee students that we have. And we're attributing that to the fact that maybe they like school now, that they're feeling safe and they're feeling welcome because of all of the work we've done together in creating that trauma-free environment for our students. This is the anchor for us. This is the number of suspensions that Hawaii has. And that's about 11,000 across the state. And they just decreased about 1.9%. This is Nanakuli-Waianae. We've dropped almost 33.4%. And we've gone from almost 1,000 suspensions. And that's like what we call class A, B offenses, which are things that are against the law, right? Drugs, weapons, and assaults, and disorderly conduct. And we're down to 723, I think, something like that, last year. So this is how we're doing now. This is our incidences. All the incidences reported to the office in our school system. Last year, we had 2,290. And so as of, I think, December, look at the drop in all of the incident reports to the office. And that's 702 currently. Even if we doubled it, we'll still be below what we had the year before. And our suspensions, they're down tremendously. Again, a lot of it is due to the work that's going on in the school and in partnership together. This is what students are saying about bullying and harassment. And it's a big problem in Hawaii, and our Board of Education and our legislators are looking at this. They're passing laws about mandatory trainings, but in our community where we had 60% of our students saying it's a problem, currently it's 36 that have reported to the state survey. Go ahead, you do this.
Other improvements from 2010 to 2011 to 2018, we see a dramatic increase in the on-time graduation rate. You know, these days, we do have to check the 10%. If we anchor to 2010, actually, these days, we've gone from 50 out of 100 to about 75 out of 100. So 75% on-time high school graduation.
Waianae High School last year was at 83% graduation, and Nanakuli was up to 78. Yeah. And we're beating some of the prominent high schools in Honolulu district, but we won't name names, but we know who they are. And we used to use them as our pacing car, but we surpassed the pacing car already. So we're feeling good.
Kids are coming to school. They're not absent. They're able to get their healthcare needs handled. Teachers are staying. A 50% decrease in teacher vacancies. That says a lot because the opposite was true.
10 years ago,
we would lose half our teachers every 2 years.
And when I first came on board, I was told that I had 25 teachers exiting from one high school and 25 leaving from, you know, and if you only have 100 teachers, 25 is 1/4 of your teaching staff. So right now they're staying because the environment for teaching and learning is so much better. The thing that we have to work on is our college enrollment, and that's why the priority in preschools, getting them K-ready and getting them to read on grade level, right? And this is our last thing that we want you to see, and we're on time.
Yep, and then we have questions. We can take questions.
Mo'olelo is changing our story.
Am I the only one not seeing the video?
Oh, they're not seeing the video. It should be on. Okay, hold on.
Shucks.
I see the link for it and I can hear it, but I can't see it.
Oh, I see. You know, you know what I would say is I don't know how to
Go to our website. Is it on?
I think that they can just see this. That's why.
Oh, maybe try do it that way. Oh,
Yeah. Well, how about go check out this
go to
link.
YouTube.
YouTube.
Go to YouTube.
Well, I think the thing is I don't know how to toggle. Oh, how about this? Can you see that?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
No.
No.
Now I'm just seeing your slide deck.
Okay.
PowerPoint slide deck.
Oh, I know.
Oh, but you're not seeing that.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we go to questions and we'll look for it and we can end with that. Can you find it on YouTube?
Sure. Okay, so you know that was shucks. That was a big finale.
Yeah.
It is just to see that there's a very, very palpable difference in our community, and what I love most about that is it comes from the community. So prepositions really matter to me. The trust that I work for and many of the grants that I've seen, we have made the bad mistake of doing things to community. These days we're working really hard to work in community, and one day there's this preferred future of doing things by community, and that's where I feel like I've felt some of the biggest changes. So thank you so much for the time and opportunity to share, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
This is Upenda. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. I really just have a comment. I came in late. I'm from the Atlanta area, but I was actually born in Hawaii, and my family is in Hawaii. So just very excited about the work that you guys are doing. Often people have a myth that, you know, everything is perfect in Hawaii and it's, you know, paradise and no one deals with any problems. And so uplifting that, you know, communities suffer with the same things in many places, like the work that I do here in Atlanta. And we definitely have to partner with folks in our communities, especially the stakeholders, and find out what they need and what they want in order to get this work done. So congratulations on the data that you provided. And offline, hopefully I'm able to connect with you guys on maybe some of the other projects are very similar, and I'd love to get your feedback on some of the things we're doing here.
Thank you. Yeah, would be happy to chat.
And we're always looking to learn more about different kinds of things that we could start to do in our area as well. And so that would be wonderful.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody's email address is on the calendar invite, but should you have difficulty connecting, otherwise, I'm more than happy to connect people. I have a question in that I'm always curious how you can amass so many partners authentically, and how did you reach out to your community to make sure that you're partnering with the right organizations and the right groups? And have you had to, as you're super clear about what your priorities are, push off or postpone partnerships that aren't that are well-meaning but maybe not supporting what your strategic priorities are?
Those are some great questions. So how do we make sure we have authentic partnerships? How do we make sure we have the right partnerships? And then how do you defer offer of partnership if it doesn't align? Yeah, so I can start, and then just a couple of strategies that we use when we bring an organization to the table. And I love that question, because I also believe that sometimes we make the mistake of doing community by proxy, which means I've got this amazing list of organizations that I meet with during the workday, talking about this community that I don't live in, that I don't raise my kids in. Incidentally, that's half true for me. I don't live in the community that I work in, but I do send my kids to public school in this community. But you know, so for me, the organizations are important because that's who we strategize with. That's how we can achieve many of our priorities. But the authentic voice of community residents who live and raise children here are an important part of the equation. And so early on, we took a pretty high touch approach with engaging with community residents. And we used some elements of the Harwood Institute. And community conversations, although we call them garage conversations, because like 90% of those conversations happen in the garage. And I'm not even lying, you guys. Like I went through my phone, all the people, you know, that I personally knew in Nanakuli and Waianae, made them invite me to their house. And I said, I'm going to bring you guys dinner if you bring like 6 of your neighbor friends, and let's have a conversation about education. Let's have a conversation about your community. We followed the Harwood script pretty closely, which it was amazing. These 10 questions. Question 1, what kind of community do you want to live in? And you work your way all the way through, and we start to ask about if that's the kind of community you want to live in, who do you trust to do this work? And we got a tremendous amount of insight from those conversations to help us then define who we reached out to, who we didn't reach out to. And then the one other thing that I'll share, a tool or a strategy, oh gosh, you know, I'll totally tip my hand. I'm very informal sometimes with how I work. But, you know, I told the story about this one time I got together with some of my girlfriends from high school, and we were just very impressed. We were at one of my girlfriends' house and having wine, of course, and as middle-aged ladies who are having wine sometimes too, started talking about lingerie, and she showed us her collection. She just pulled her drawer open and said, look at this, it's so cute. And we were oohing and awing over her lingerie.
This has a point.
It does, I promise. So I went to our partnership meeting and said, you know, we've got to get to a level of intimacy and honesty where we're willing to show up in our underwear. And what that does is means I trust you guys implicitly to put myself in a very vulnerable position, and I trust that you're not going to judge me. And so we turned those gatherings into for a little bit. We didn't spend forever in this space, because that would be excruciating.
Yeah, you just get to know
where we would bring the underwear drawer of our organizations to the meeting, so to speak, and say, these are the things that I'm working on. These are the things that I'm really struggling with. And good, bad, or ugly, guys, these are my priorities.
You know, one of the things, as Khalid talks about that, was really because we understood that as newbies into the community, we really had to build trust. And we had to build those relationships. So Khalid does it her way.
Yeah.
Khalid was in the community. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do that. So we had to build on each other's strengths.
Yeah.
So what I needed to do was still do a parallel structure. I needed my schools to actually start to turn outward. And so we started asking the questions about how do you know your community? How do you know what their thoughts are about making their community a thriving community and a better place? And so what we started to do is we actually had conversations with 27 groups of students, 3 groups in each school. And in some schools, there were entire grade levels. And so we started to find out what they felt were really important. And it was amazing because the things that the children came up with were things like to be safe in school and outside of the school, to really have challenging kind of learning opportunities in our school, you know, to be able to make a difference and be part of making these things happen. We know we need some adults, you know, but we still want to be involved in the process. You know, so they started to articulate very important things. And by us now knowing the community and now creating a public will around it, so Khalid and I were able to start to use these voices to share it out. And then we started to get people who are willing to come in and do this. But it was challenging in the beginning because we had to reach out and try to pull people in around these initiatives and the needs. But now, amazingly enough, because they've heard about the things that we're doing out on the West Side, I'm getting more calls to kind of share how people can help. We want to help you. And so over time, when people start to hear about the things that we're doing and developing, we get calls to say, we want to partner with you and we can bring to the table these things. And we get to start to determine with our schools and our community partners how we're going to work together to make even more things happen.
Well, I'm sorry. Our situation in Atlanta is pretty unique in that, of course, we are coming off of, in the past 5 years, a cheating scandal. So when you brought up trust, trust is very important for the business community and the nonprofit community and our parents and stakeholders in the community. And so that's where we began with the partnership program, just really trying to reestablish relationships and trust within Atlanta and Atlanta Public Schools. And so in that time, yes, we were very, we were kind of casting a wide net and just looking for help in a lot of different areas. But now we are definitely getting to the point where that trust and credibility has been rebuilt quite a bit for the most part. And our partnership work can be a lot more intentional and strategic. As you guys were saying, very goal-based. Definitely now trying to empower the schools to be able to form their own partnerships and build that community. So when the last time I met Blake in Atlanta, I was working in the school. And so that was my prior experience. I actually did the work on the ground in the school every day, building different programs, different wraparound supports, building relationships with corporate partners, working with a lot of the community quarterback and foundations in the community. And now I'm at the district level, so it's kind of tying those two things together and seeing how we can kind of scale what we've learned. And so that is my work right now. I've been in this position about 6 months, so I'm always looking for, feedback and just kind of guidance as to the best ways to do that.
And what's really key is once you start to establish a track record for the things that you do, we just got a proposal to take over 20 acres of land, to develop a cultural park in our area, and it's state property, but it currently belongs to Harbors Division. And the reason is because they want us to help convene community partners in establishing this cultural park with the schools and our students as the agents to drive the development of that plan. And those are the kinds of things that we never imagined, right? When we first stepped into this space. And now that we're starting to realize the process of how all of this can happen, that it's really hitting a point where we thought that was our North Star. Where do we go from here now as we start to create these larger public changes, but incorporating our students as part of the learning process, the advocacy for themselves, and really looking at our parents who are very proud to say that they're from our community now. We just got word that our robotics team at the intermediate school is going to international. And never have we ever had that kind of representation from our community. And now I think our chorus went to Carnegie Hall. I mean, these things just happened within the last 8 to 10 years. And it's just been a real positive change. Now we need to continue to work on getting our students to be reading on grade level, going to having post-secondary choices, and then being able to come back. We started hiring back teachers who come from our coast. So those kinds of stories that we have really are the success stories. And we want to continue and make sure that these happen through the partnerships and through everybody believing that our children are valuable assets to this community.
Okay. Just to that point, and I know we're running out of time, I would probably follow up if we had a chance on how do you communicate a lot of the great things that are happening in your community. We're going through our new strategic plan, and for the most part, over the past few years, we've been sharing news from a very high level of what the district is doing and what stakeholders have said. They really want the information that parents can use immediately, what's going on in their home school in their area. So we're you know, it's kind of decentralizing that, so to speak, and just wondering, you know, what does that look like, you know, in your community when you're sharing all these great things that, you know, are happening.
Yeah, social media is the way our schools are really using their phones, their Instagram, their Twitter. Things go out before I even know what's going on, so I have to get with it as well. Kali, you want to wrap up? I think you have something you wanted to share.
Oh, no, I was just.
No? Okay, so just to let you know that the partnership is key. We inspire each other every day. I mean, that was the biggest part.
Yeah.
And we just enjoy bringing our partners together. And we have several different posses, we call them, for different purposes. And I think that's the key, is once you know your community and you got your resources and you got your posse, you got your core work group, and you've got a belief system that's strong, I think that's the only way we can start to hit that North Star.
Yeah.
We love being with all of you. In Hawaiian, in Hawaii, aloha also means goodbye.
So yeah, aloha kakou and ahuiho until we meet again.
Until we meet again.
Aloha.
Both so much for sharing everything. This was fantastic. So, and it's clear your partnership is so authentic, because the two of you should go on the road together. You're lovely presenters together.
Thanks so much for this opportunity.
No, thank you for being here. I'm sorry we'll miss you at our conference this year, but maybe next year. We're in Dallas next year.
Cool.
Oh, okay, that'll be great.
It's a tiny bit closer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you everybody for being here.